Well, there's a very common experience on the spiritual path that's called the dark night of the soul. And as we're on a pathway of questioning all beliefs, even this needs to be questioned. Even the dark night of the soul needs to be questioned. Yes, many of the Christian mystics have described this and gone through it, but it really needs to be questioned. Because simply holding the belief in sacrifice and that a dark night of the soul is necessary for one to go through means that it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so in watching the lives of the saints and the mystics, when you come across the belief in sacrifice being demonstrated in their life stories, it's helpful to remember two things. One, you're looking from an external viewpoint, from the point of view of those that were around them at the time often. And even if you're coming at it from an internal viewpoint, as in you're listening to something that was written by someone who became, according to the church, a great saint, it is still rooted in the belief in sacrifice being helpful from the time they came from. And so there is a deep, deep need to face fear in the mind. There is a deep need to face the belief in pain in the mind and question it as close as possible to the root desire for something to be different other than it is. It is the conflict in our own mind that is experienced as pain, whether that seems to be a pain of the body, of the person that you believe you are, whether it seems to be the anguish of emotional pain from the self-concept of the person that you think that you are, or whether it's experienced as universal pain or the sorrow for the world in service, that you experience yourself as a bodhisattva given to transmute. No matter what it is, the belief that pain and suffering are necessary needs to be questioned. The immediacy of salvation is where all true hope comes from, because it's now. It's not in the future. It's not after you overcome something. It's not following a deep insight. It is the immediacy of the fact that there is help available in this moment, and that healing happens to you, for you, not by you. That your job is acceptance of that healing, that it's already been done for you. That's what forgiveness is. It's acceptance of the atonement for yourself. It's acceptance that your part is to be glad, to be happy, to be in awareness of what's true. And yet there can seem to be a time in which you are not aware of this, and that is simply doubt. Doubt is the most crucifying of all experiences, because it degrades even that which has had your heart flooded with hope. And so what we want to come back to is that yes, you are asked to look at the darkness and raise it to the light. You are asked to go through the darkness, but the way you go through the darkness on a pathway like A Course in Miracles, a non-dual path, is to question what you are seeing that you claim is so fearful. You are asked to question. You are not asked to push through fear. You are not asked to feel the fear and do it anyway. You are asked to question what is fearful, who is fearful, and of what. And it will always be some aspect of the self-concept that is feeling threatened. Once you can identify, and quite swiftly, what it is that's feeling threatened, life-threatened, it has to be said, and you are willing to bring that into awareness, then the momentary stab of threat, the momentary death threat, once faced, and especially with the mighty companion, need not be experienced as terrifying. It is only the thought that it will be terrifying that needs to be faced. The actuality of it is never terrifying. The present moment is nothing to be feared. Everyone has always been afraid of a future moment, 5 seconds from now, 10 seconds from now. It is never an immediate experience. You cannot be afraid of this split second. So, where do you find the experience of knowing whether getting into purpose is what's called for in the moment, or whether feeling your feelings is what's called for in the moment? Whether you're malingering in something, or whether you're genuinely facing it. Well, there seems to be a period where it's trial and error till you discover that. But truly the answer is guidance. It's in tuning in and refining your listening and opening up to your willingness to choose happiness in a moment, to not be afraid of the love and the magnitude that's coming your way, and to humbly say, I do not know what anything is for, even this. I do not know what anything is for, even this. Sometimes we have just sheer doubt about everything, and we see everything in the light as if we are to blame for everything. Everything is simply a reflection that everything has gone wrong and we are bad. And that is how we're looking upon the world. And so it's getting into a miraculous state of mind that's required. And so in humbleness, you can sit still and say, what is truly helpful right now to restore myself to a miraculous state of mind? Then whatever is given for that, that is the way for you in that moment. Whether it's to sit still for a moment longer and watch those thoughts burn off in the sheer willingness to face the darkness and face the fear by bringing it to the light valiantly, in acceptance that you will not be blamed, in acceptance of your innate innocence, in acceptance of the Holy Spirit waiting there with open arms for a small child to say, oh, give it to me, give the ego to me. You are responsible for the correction, accepting the correction. You are not responsible for the error. So all we're asked yet again is to bring awareness of whatever we're feeling to the Holy Spirit and simply ask what's helpful now. It's the courage to do those few steps in a millisecond of that bringing of that awareness first to ourselves and seemingly it seems second to the Spirit that releases us from the guilt and shame that not bringing them to awareness holds in place. And so you will feel in a moment then very clear, if you've been willing to do this first step, what is required, whether it's a relaxing in and allowing what's unfolding and flowing through you, and if it's getting into purpose, which looks sometimes like an activity, but happiness is your purpose. And so it is with a glad heart that you raise yourself to even sit still and meditate. It is with a happy heart that you raise yourself to your feet to do the dishes or to go into your working day, whatever is given for you, whatever form of service it takes, however that looks, whether it's writing your letter to someone that you've been leaving to one side for a while because there's been resistance, whether it's one of the steps of making amends that you're facing, having been formerly an alcoholic, whatever step you're on in the highly individualized journey on which you're traveling this beautiful way. Again, all that's asked of you is to pray, listen, and follow for what's truly helpful in the moment.